So, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, so
I like the robes.
yes, I thought that was a little freaky, but I like that too. So what I'm going to be presenting today is information about the evolution of secret societies. And just to get started, when you think of secret societies, you might think about people dressed in the black robes, chanting all day, but it's a lot deeper than just people in robes chanting. The secret society, they have many different branches, and they actually have a lot of different positions, just like the government does. Some would characterize secret societies as a fraternity or a brotherhood. Secret societies, they contain people from all races and all religious backgrounds. But the number one rule with all secret society is to keep unique knowledge, hidden knowledge. Hey, Lena. Keep certain knowledge hidden. That's not common to both you and me. And they're supposed to pledge allegiance to keeping the information sacredly secret amongst other secret society members. So, before we get started, this is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed, you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. That's from Morpheus in the Matrix. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go ahead and take that red pill, and we're going to go ahead and let the journey begin. Okay. First thing we need to do is to understand the origin of secret societies. Secret societies, they're based on occult esoteric knowledge. They came out of the mystery schools of Egypt. The occult is, words like occult and esoteric, people tend to shun those types of words because they think that it's evil, but really it's just a misunderstanding of what it means. Occult and esoteric knowledge just means that it's hidden knowledge. And the people that are in secret societies, they're open to that knowledge. Now, I'm going to speak a little bit about the Gnostics. I tried to go back as far as I could. If you do any type of research on religion, government systems, anything, the origin is going to kind of take you back to the Gnostics. Let's see. So a little bit, the occult knowledge, it can be associated with the paranormal, meaning those are the things that are not easily explained. The paranormal cannot be explained through normal circumstances and normal occurrences. So because it's not explainable, a lot of people brush it off as being folklore or, something that's not true. It has no scientific basis of proof, so that's another reason why people shun esoteric knowledge. There are occurrences in life that we all know, things that have happened to us where you can't explain these things, but they have definitely happened. That doesn't, just because we can't explain them or we can't put an equation to it, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Participants in secret societies, they understand this versus the average human being that will, brush a lot of things off. And because they do understand this knowledge, that puts them in a position of power. The Gnostics, they practice something called Gnosticism, and it's basically Hermetic teachings that deal with magic, extrasensory perception, all of those paranormal things. They also dealt with the Kabbalah, which in all of these teachings, they originated out of the Eastern Mediterranean areas during the first centuries AD. Okay. The Gnostics, they believe that we are a part of the all. We're not separated from it. In the Western civilization, we always feel that there's, something outside of us, but they believe that we are one with the all. In order for the Gnostics to reach that oneness with the all, they practiced things like sexual abstinence. They did a lot of philanthropy, basically, to the point of giving away everything that they had to become homeless. They really cared about people, and they decided to seek a lot of wisdom, and they would do that through the mystery schools of Egypt. Okay. Now, in the Western civilization, we have God and we have the devil. The Gnostics, their beliefs were a little bit different. They believed that the opposite of the all was something called the demiurge. They said that the demiurge actually created the material world that we live in. The demiurge created the universe, everything that we can see and touch and feel that was what was created by the demiurge, and that's just one small portion of the all. The all is everything beyond even different spiritual realms. That's what they believe. Okay. This guy right here, his name is Hermes I always mess his name up, Trismegistus. He was a Greek deity, a Greek god, and basically he got all of his information from Thoth, which was an Egyptian god, but with a lot of Egyptian principles, they moved those into the Greeks and morphed it into what they wanted it to be. But this is basically a representation of Thoth, which was the Egyptian god that was the god of wisdom. Hermes, his teachings to the members of his clan during that time, they dealt with the 7 Hermetic principles, which was mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. They dealt a lot with astrology, and they dealt with the tree of life as well. Basically just saying that there are different realms, like we live in what they would call a 3D realm, and then there's 4, 5, 6, and it keeps going up, and it also goes down. They dealt a lot with, like, when they say gender, that wasn't necessarily about a woman and a man. It was more about a masculine and a feminine principle that everything has. Like, I have masculinity in me and femininity just as well as a man has femininity and masculinity. Hermes also stated that everything, even tables or everything that we deal with, is nothing but energy and vibrations that are moving constantly. They're always moving, they never stop, but we can't see that with the naked eye. All we see is matter. Okay. Again, this is speaking about the feminine principle and the masculine principle. You put these symbols together. Ancient Egypt, they called this the Ankh. And it represented like a wholeness. It represented life, and it's a wholeness in everything. This is just an example of what Hermes was teaching about. Like, we have our table. We see a table, but he says if you break it down so far into a microscopic thought, they're nothing but tiny particles being held together, like atoms, neutrons, protons, and that's what creates matter. But it's really hard for the brain to fathom that, but that's what the principle that they said about matter. It's actually tiny moving particles. They spoke about as above, so below. This is a representation of as above, so below, basically saying whatever happens in the heavens happens on earth. We have light, dark, up, down, black and white. The yin and yang symbol is also a symbol that represents the as above, so below. These are two separate entities, but they come together to create a whole, and they can't work without each other. Same thing with good and evil. They dealt with a lot with alchemy, and alchemy is basically changing, let's say, coal. They would believe that you could change coal into gold, transferring different types of metals into a different substance. And that's basically just science. Okay, so that's just a little bit of history about the esoteric knowledge. This brings us to Freemasonry. Freemasonry adopted all of these principles, and they used, I just want to talk a little bit about this picture. You see the all-seeing eye, the imagery here. It says the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, so we're still talking about secret societies. They have their crest here, and that the crest, of course, has a meaning. Everything has a meaning with secret societies, symbols and numbers that they know what it means, but the average person doesn't know unless they choose to delve into that information. Now, the Freemasons, they were considered as the great builders. They were the upstanding people that had the knowledge. They were of mature age. They had a belief in a supreme being. It didn't have to be a Christian deity. It could be Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, just as long as they had belief in a supreme being. They were stone builders, and they were aware, of course, of esoteric knowledge. The more they moved up in the ranks, the more knowledge they received. But again, they were sworn to secrecy. Now, again, they were considered as the great builders, the knowledge builders, and they are one of the oldest fraternities that exist. The premise of the fraternity was that they were to build the man, to make the man better. Their motto was making good men better, And a lot of people that are Masons today, they said that they enjoy being a Mason. They do a lot of charitable, deeds, but their ultimate goal is to get to this Masonic light. In order to get to the Masonic light, you have to go through the ranks and keep moving up through the different degrees. And they usually take a trip over to the Middle East to get some knowledge from over there. But that's a process of obtaining that Masonic light. Now, this is a picture. You start at the bottom, and you work your way up that pyramid. And with esoteric knowledges, we always know pyramids are always present. There is no higher or more prestigious step than the degree of the Master Mason, which is the third degree, which is obtained within the first 3 degrees of Masonry. Once you get to the third degree of Masonry, then you're able to branch off and start dealing in the York Rite or the Scottish Rite, or there are other different types, such as the Royal Arch, Cryptic Masonry, and the Knights Templar. And then you're starting to deal with higher degrees, like 1 through 33. Okay. So, this information, it actually sounds really positive, and it creates a very positive outlook. They are building men, doing self-realization, and doing a lot of charitable events. But a lot of people say that Freemasonry is actually evil, and it is a satanic organization that's been set up to control the world. There was a gentleman by the name of Manly Hall. He was a 33-degree Mason, and he basically stated that those who follow the path of faith or heart use water and they are the known sons of Seth, while those who follow the path of the mind and action are the sons of Cain, who was the son of Samael, the spirit of fire. So basically they're trying to say that it has some ties to the devil and evil things. Right here, there are 14 U.S. presidents that were Masons. So this also leads a lot of conspiracy theorists to believe that these individuals have set up a plan to take over the world. It's an evil, diabolical plan. And all of these people, they were the first founding fathers of the United States, and they have shaped these systems that we're in today. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to take a little trip over to Yale. Yale was located in New Haven, Connecticut, and it was created to be a private Ivy League research university, mostly for the children of the elite. They wanted to send the elite to a special school, and that was in Yale. It was founded in 1701, and it's the third oldest institution of higher education in the United States. Yale was named after Elihu Yale. Okay. So now things are going to get a little bit freaky. So we're going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper with the information. Okay, so this is a picture of the Skull and Bones, and I think that they're pretty creepy. So the Skull and Bones, they're an undergraduate senior society they're called the Bonesmen. They have a reputation in association with the power elite. And basically the power elite are all of those individuals that are in dominant positions within our government, any system that you can think of. These are the power elite. And the elite positions were comprised of, they said, celebrities, chief executives, corporate rich, the warlords, the political directorates such as senior leadership and executive offices, the presidents, Democratic and Republican. Some characteristics of the Bonesmen: you actually have to be initiated. You have to be tapped in. Somebody will come to them and tap them in, and they'll come to the initiation process. The individual must be a leader amongst the campus. They are going to have to go through an initiation ritual, which is very important to the process. They're superior amongst the other students, and again, here we go, sworn to secrecy. And like I said before, they are normally the offspring of the elite. Oddly enough, these are some of our government officials that have been in the Skull and Bones. And in 2004, we had 2 running mates, Kerry and George Bush, that were running together. A lot of us did not know that they came from the same fraternal order, but they did. So they're pretty much coming from the same team, friendship bonded, but then they're running for presidency. And we we have been taught that it's something separate, but it's actually the same. George H.W. Bush, he was also a part of the Skull and Bones. And Prescott Bush, which was George H.W. Bush, he was a part of the Skull and Bones too. And they said that he was really a wild boy. He was into a lot of different things. But their whole point was they wanted to seek this enlightenment, which is that esoteric knowledge that we are not privy to. Okay. That's Geronimo. Okay. Geronimo, he was an Apache warrior. He died in 1909. And this is like a legend. We don't know 100% sure if it's true. But the legend says that Prescott Bush and some of his people during that time dug this grave up and took the skull of Geronimo, and they still have it located in a tomb at Yale today. So that's just a fun fact to know. You know, they were digging up graves and stuff, so it's all right. Now we want to talk about the symbolism a little bit. So we see the skull and bones with the 322. It's two ways that they are able to connect the 322 to a specific person. This gentleman, his name is Demosthenes. He was considered as a great statesman. Where am I at? Oh, okay. Demosthenes, he was a great statesman, which basically means he was a great speaker. He was a great orator. He was a philosopher. He gave speeches that were so good back in the times, in those Greek times, that lawyers and politicians would come to him and say, hey, we want you to write our speeches because you're that awesome. So that gives a tie to politics, because in order to be a politician, you have to be a great speaker. You have to be able to draw people in with the words that you're saying. You have to be able to persuade people, and that's actually a psychological type thing. But he was really good at that. He passed away in 32 BC, so it's been a connection that they're paying homage to him by the 322. Also, Genesis 3:22 states that, behold, the man has become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now, lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life, which to me, I believe, is in reference to the Kabbalah, that tree of life. But we assume a tree in the Garden of Eden where they're taking an apple off and they're eating it. Okay, so the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So, now the initiation process of the bonesmen, it was somebody, what's his name, Ron Rosenbaum. They were able to infiltrate and get in there with some cameras. I don't know how true it is, but they did have film. I did see the film, and it was an initiation process where a woman is laying on a slab. She's tied up, covered in blood, and they create a fake murder scene where they're slashing throats and saying all types of, just weird things. Another part of the initiation process that's been reported is they take the initiate, they put him in a tomb, the other initiates are around, as well as the other people that are in higher ranks, and they have to confess their sexual history and all the dirty things that they've done in their life. And they do that because if they were to ever try to get out of the skull and bones, this is kind of like blackmail. Like, we have this information on you. And it also creates that brotherhood. If you know all about someone's history and everything about them, it makes you feel it's a sense of closeness. But once they make it through the initiation process, they are officially a part of the elite. That's it. They're signed, they're in there, and you know that they're going to move up the ranks of all government processes. Now, one thing that they do have to speak about is a death mantra, and it says the hangman equals death, the devil equals death, death equals death. And from what I understand, they're basically saying that the flesh of the man, the barbarian side of the man, needs to die in order to seek this level of enlightenment. Okay, it's kind of weird. It is. They're really twisted, but these are the people that are running our world. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on because I'm talking about the elite, because I'm trying to keep this going. I know this is long. So this is going to carry us into the elite, and this is a gentleman, a bourgeoisie gentleman. The elite, they're going to be the most powerful and rich people in the world. This is not just the United States. This is in the world. And they say that the most powerful families is actually 13 families. It's a 13 bloodline. Now, they're the top. A long time ago, it used to be the top 5%, but now they say it's the top 1% that controls most of the resources and finances that we have in the whole world. So 13 bloodlines, I couldn't get into each one of them, so I just went with my favorite, and which is the House of Rothschilds, because they actually were the first ones that started the international finance banking system, which everyone else modeled after them. Okay. Okay, so now all of the Rothschilds, if you go back into their ancestry, it's going to take you back to Mayer Amschel Rothschild. He was the founding father of the international finance. He started out he was a German Jewish banker, and he founded the Rothschilds banking dynasty. Let's see, the Forbes magazine listed him as the 20 most influential businessmen of all time in 2015, and they're still saying that, and he's been gone for a long time. He gained all of his knowledge and assistance from family members, and he later started trading in exotic coins. His business with the coins flourished, and then later he started dealing with payments for Britain for hiring different soldiers. So they would pay people to fight in the war of the French Revolution. So they were literally
American Revolution.
Yeah, they put a lot of money towards war. They could do that. Okay, so I found this to be interesting. Oh, let me take it back. They have a lot of money, and it's been rumored that the whole family together, this is just an outlandish figure, but they said $500 trillion within the family, but don't quote me on that. I do know that there is one gentleman, one specifically, he's a billionaire. So, and the family is so huge, so we know they have a lot of money. The Rothschilds, they were able to keep their finances within the family by inbreeding.
Oh, that sounds about right back then.
They had kissing cousins.
That was common.
Kissing cousins. You look at the family tree, you're going to see Joan Rothschild married Tom Rothschild, and it happened over and over and over again. That's how they were able to keep their money hidden and sacred within their family. They kept it in their own family circle, which is kind of gross, but that's what they did. And that's how they were very successful at that. Okay, the Rothschilds' finances allowed them to fund wars, like we just spoke about, and have organizations dependent upon them and their money. And also they had the knowledge about the finances, and so that put them as the front runner because they had the money. You can see this view, everybody else is like, gimme, and they're like, no, we'll throw you some money, but they were in control of all the finances. And also, just another tip, they were very fond of Zionism, but I didn't even get into that because that's a whole nother thing. Now, this is going to take us to where we are present day in the United States. We have something called the Federal Reserve, which is the Fed. We deal with all the money, and of course, it was said that the information from the Rothschilds was given to the Fed to create our system. This is the day that they signed off on the Federal Reserve on December 3rd, 1913. Okay, so this was set up because of the Great Depression that took place. They didn't want that to happen again, and also it was set up to combat against the Great Recession that we just went through, just in the most recent years past. So how did the Fed come to be? Who assisted them with creating this U.S. banking system? Now, if you go to the Fed website, it says that they work independently, and pretty much they're not really getting any help from the outside. However, Mullins, which was a bank researcher, he stated that the most powerful men in the United States were themselves answerable to another power, a foreign power, a power which had been steadfastly seeking to extend its control over the young republic since the very inception. The power was the financial power of England, centered in London, which was the House of Rothschilds. The fact was that in 1910, the United States was, for all practical purposes, being ruled from England, and they say they still are today. That's what they say. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our next group, which is the Bilderbergs. We love the Bilderbergs. Okay, so the Bilderbergs are basically, if you see all of these logos it's everybody. It's every corporation. It's every branch of politics. Anything that you got secret society, Skull and Bones, everything that you can think of, they're a part of the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group, they get together, the most prestige people in these organizations globally. They come together every year. They meet at a secret place, and they have conversations about world affairs. That's what they say. When you go to their website, which is bilderbergmeetings.com, they have a message up there basically stating, it says the meeting is a forum for informational discussions about mega trends and major issues in the world. However, they don't do any voting. They say that they don't make any, declarations. All they do is talk. They just have a 3-day roundtable discussion. That's it. Nothing is done. And I think that's a bunch of crap. That's just my personal opinion. No detailed agenda, no resolutions are proposed, no votes are taken, no policy statements are issued. Okay, however, the attendees, they have to sign off on, it's like a privacy clause called the Chapman Clause, which basically says you can come here, we can talk about this stuff amongst each other, but when you walk out that door, you cannot repeat anything that has been said at these meetings. So they're also, again, sworn to secrecy. Okay. Now the Bilderberg Group, you see the all-seeing eye, that's going to get ready to wrap up, but that's going to take us to, I'm actually swinging back around, to the Bavarian Illuminati, which most secret societies have been modeled after. This gentleman, his name is Adam Weishaupt. I think I pronounced that the right way. And he was from Germany too. I'm finding that a lot of the stuff is coming right out of Germany. It takes us back to Germany. He was raised by his godfather. His godfather was an educator in law in Germany. And he was raised in the Jesuit church. And he was fed the teachings of his godfather, which was comprised of enlightenment, rationalism, and other philosophy. He later enrolled in university. He graduated. He became a professor. And he later moved, and he was inducted into the Freemasonry Association, Freemasonry Brotherhood. So he had these ideals of, we don't need religion. We don't need religion. We need to be rational. We don't need to deal in our emotions. We need to be rational men, get rid of religion. So when he went into the Freemasonry, he tried to tell these ideas, and actually a lot of people caught on, and they were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's go ahead and get rid of religion. But, of course, some were against that. The idea of rationalism states that the opinions and actions should be based on knowledge rather than religious belief or emotional response. Let's see. He had many followers, and even Catholic clergy. So he was in the Freemasonry, and then he decided to branch off and do his own thing. So he created his own organization. Catholic clergy joined the Bavarian Illuminati, so they're kind of playing both sides of the fence. They said that some of the Catholic clergy were interested in this new form of thought, and they wanted to do something a little bit different. So they came in there and they followed, and they, believed what he said. Other Catholic clergy got into his brotherhood just to steal the secrets. They infiltrated the Illuminati to get their secrets, and that's probably how they've been very successful to this day. Okay, so he had the thought of a one world, no borders, we're all together, just openness. Today we have globalization and borders and everything. He wanted to get rid of all of that and just have this one new world order. He said the human race would then become one family, which is not true. But he said the human race will become one family, and the world will be the dwelling place for the rational man. It's necessary to gain the common people to our order. So the common people are, I guess, the poor people. So he wanted to get them in there. And he says the best means to the end. Okay, I'm sorry. The great strength of the order lies in its concealment. It says, let it never appear in any place in its own name. So you would never see Illuminati anywhere, but what you would see is that it would be covered by other names and other occupations. So your doctors, your lawyers, government officials, etc., etc. the Illuminati infiltrated everything. That was his goal, to infiltrate every position except it was still hidden and secretive. Okay, so let's move on. The Illuminati, as we know, they use a lot of different symbolism. The biggest one that we see a lot is the all-seeing eye, and that's located on the $1 bill. And I don't think people even look at their $1 bill and say, "Oh, what's all this stuff on this dollar bill?" We just spend it, okay? But basically, on the $1 bill, it's a representation of God who favors the prosperity of the United States. It's positioned above an unfinished pyramid representing the future growth of the United States. Okay, so conspiracy theorists, such as myself, it says that the all-seeing eye represents the eye of Lucifer, and that eye can be seen. The eye can see all, and it oversees all of the minions, which are represented by the individual bricks in the pyramid, etc., etc. Also, the master masons, they use the all-seeing eye also, and they said that the all-seeing eye is the great architect of the universe, God, who watches and sees everything, and will judge us accordingly to our works. Now, if you see this, you know in a little while you're going to see it on TV. It's everywhere. It's infiltrated our children. These are cartoons.
SpongeBob. Oh my God. SpongeBob is still
SpongeBob. Nickelodeon. It's this show called Gravity Falls. It's a cartoon that my kid, but it's really weird, and they do a lot of all-seeing eye. But the symbolism is everywhere. Wow. But the thing is, because it's a secret society, they put it there, and you see it, but you don't see it. If you're not looking for it, you don't know that it's there. Monsters, Inc. with the eye. Okay, it's everywhere. Next, we're going to look at some more symbolism. This is some more Illuminati symbolism. We have our stars. They call them stars, that always show the one eye, which is a representation of the all-seeing eye, as well as logos. If you actually start paying attention to different logos, you're going to see these eyes everywhere popping up. LG, one eye. CBS has the eye. It's literally everywhere.
Wow, Nickelodeon, seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's messing up my childhood. Right?
Okay. It gets worse. All right. So these are celebrities, that are they are a part of the cabal, and they know that. That's why you always see them doing all types of hand gestures. They are a part of this secret society. Now, we're going to talk about another Illuminati symbolism, which is the rock on symbol. You see people say, "Hey, rock on, rock on."
That's the horns, isn't it?
Baphomet.
Yeah, okay.
So as you can see, I just want to show our prominent people in positions. Got Hillary Clinton, see, got Obama, he does it too all the time. The Pope, you can see the Pope doing it. Everybody's doing it. Bush is doing it.
Nobody can say everything.
Okay. Now, this gentleman right here, his name is Anton LaVey. He is the founder of the Church of Satan, okay? And as you can see, he's making that hand gesture as well. His motto was total opposite of Western Christianity. He said, "Do what thou wilt. Do what you want to do. Drink it up, have sex, do nasty stuff, do whatever you want to do. We're free to do what we want to do. The man is God. There is no higher power," and they turn up, and they do a lot of nasty things. They drink blood and do all types of terrible things in the house of Satan. He's no longer with us, though, but his teachings have lived on. They're still active. So basically, I don't know. But basically, the rules are there are no rules, okay? No higher power. Now, if you can see that symbolism right there, that's the pentagram with Baphomet. Now, there are other symbolisms that they use, like the 666. We have the pentagram and Baphomet. Baphomet is a deity. It's a goat with breast, and it holds its hand up, like this to represent as above, so below. Well, we talked about that in the beginning. So let's check this out. George Washington, as above, so below. We got the Baphomet.
Wow.
Yeah, but there are other people that have done that same hand with Buddha. It's also done that, the as above, so below. We have pictures of Jesus Christ. We have Athena, who's the goddess of wisdom, craft, and war. George Washington. It's many. You could look up as above, so below, and you'll see many, many different people. So, basically, lastly, with everything that I said today, you must make your own conclusion about whether or not secret societies run our government and all of our other systems in the world. Do they just want us to obey a system so they continue to rise in fortune and power while we, the people, struggle and are left and confused in this illusion that they have created for us because we lack the knowledge? But you have to make that decision for yourself. Could this all be one big coincidence or one large conspiracy?
Right.
It could be. I don't know.
Got the ball floating and everything.
You never know. Only the researcher who has decided to take the red pill can make that decision for his or herself. But the facts and the connections really piece the puzzle together, and I've really tried to show you guys. I tried to pull it all together to make the connection. I hope that you got it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to talk about all the secret societies because it's hundreds with Ku Klux Klan. I mean, the ball just keeps going. So I just chose to focus on a few to try to paint this picture for you, to open your eyes to something different. They just exchange the secret information. We're not invited. They do this stuff behind closed doors, but we, the people, are not invited. So you can go ahead and make that decision for yourself, if this is real or fake. And me, as in Morpheus, I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. And that's all.
That was good.
Girl. Thank you. It was long.
That was good though. It was very informative.
Thanks.
And the thing is,